The Women's College World Series is underway. Lots of us know this event as viewers, watchers, fans. But what is it like for the players? No one knows the answer better than Nicole Mendes, former Oklahoma outfielder and two-time national champion. We'll talk to her about her experience, her memories, and maybe get her perspective on this year's tournament. Now, on the Jenni Carlson Show. But before we get to that, I want to encourage you to subscribe. First, to my YouTube channel, at Jenni-Carlson. Just hit that subscribe button. It's easy, it's free, but it really helps me a bunch. Then I hope you'll subscribe to my Substack. You can subscribe for free, or if you want to support my work with a paid subscription, those start at $8 a month. I hope you consider subscribing no matter what level. JenniCarlson.substack.com. Nicole Mendes, so great to have you join the show. How are you?
Oh man, I'm doing great. I am pumped. I mean, it's World Series time. I'm ready to get into it.
I know. I want to talk about that, and I want to catch up on what's going on with you. But first, we got to get to the Women's College World Series. I mean, I know I get excited about this week, but you having played in this tournament, having won in this tournament, what is this week like for you as somebody who's experienced this thing?
Oh man, that's like a loaded question. I think the best thing about this experience for the World Series is just the amount of people that you see that love the game as much as you. And I think as far as the experience, that's one of my favorite things is you look up and you see a stadium full of men, women, kids, girls your age, boys your age, like it doesn't matter. They're just fans of softball and they're coming out to watch a really good game. And then on the other hand, my favorite thing about it is the competition. Yeah. It is always so, so good. And this year, I think it has exceeded my expectations. Probably one of the best in the last 5 or 6 years, I think.
Yeah. I have to think after watching some of those super regional games, everybody's thinking, oh my gosh, these games are going to be so great. Can this Women's College World Series live up to that? I mean, it's a lot of expectation after what we saw the last couple of weeks.
I think it's not so much expectation. It's more so competition. It's the girls that are coming in to this tournament and they're going, I don't want to lose. We have what it takes. Anybody could win this game. I don't want to focus on the next game, but anybody could win game one. Anybody could win game two. And so as long as the teams are focusing on that, I think we won't be disappointed at all. I think we would be very pleasantly surprised with the quality games that come out.
Yeah, well, I'm excited. I'm ready to go and see some softball. But I want to rewind a little bit more on your memories because I think so many people are now watching this event as viewers, as fans. We know obviously just the record-breaking fans and the record-breaking viewership, but not many people get to walk the shoes that you walked in all those games out there for the Sooners. So put us on the field. Tell me about game day, how it all builds up to those moments when you're out there on the field of what's now Devon Park, which, by the way, that's my biggest win of the week, trying to remember the name instead of Hall of Fame Stadium. So put us on the field. Walk me out there. What is that like?
The feeling, you can hear the crowd. So if you're not the first game of the day, there's already a team out there. The game just finished. But regardless if you're first or second or the last game of the day, there's a crowd out there and you walk in from the outfield, whether it's right field or left field. But as soon as they swing open those gates, you start walking in and you know, whenever you see the park, how big it is, but coming from the lowest point in the stadium and you're just looking up and you hear the crowd roar as you're walking towards that dugout and there's little girls hanging over trying to get a high five. I think that to me is probably one of my favorite moment whenever you're on the field as an athlete. Mm-hmm. Is that initial, okay, I'm walking out and the crowd just goes crazy. The stadium stands up on their feet. Everything's going nuts. And it's a moment where you're not in the game and you can look up and you can enjoy it. You go, wow, this is softball. This is so cool. And then you get into your pregame routine and you're back to business. But that's one of the moments as an athlete that you can allow yourself to go, this is pretty cool.
You gave me goosebumps, Nicole. I mean, I've seen that moment happen, but to think that you guys can really soak that in, that's a pretty special thing. I guess maybe that's, tell those players who are doing it for the first time, take a minute, look up and enjoy it. Cause yeah, I have to think that that field level view is something to behold.
Oh, absolutely.
So you mentioned you could hear the crowd. I don't know if people know, but you warm up on those exterior fields before you come in. Do you remember sort of that first time you went from warm-ups to on the field? I mean, you played in the Women's College World Series a bunch, but does that first time even stand out for you? That first game on the field, that first experience as a Sooner?
I honestly don't even remember what my first game at the World Series was. Um, I was blessed enough to have a lot, and it was
Yeah.
amazing every time, every year I got to go, and the experience was so different yet so same. But I do remember our final practice. You get to practice as a team on the main field before the tournament starts, and one of the juniors took me aside, and I was struggling to carry the cooler up the steps because we were going back to the bases or back to the buses. And she pulled me aside and she had me wait a minute while the rest of the team went. She put her arms around me, and it was our catcher, it was Leah Wodak, and she just puts her arm around me and she goes, "Hey, like, I just want you to look out there." And I'm like, freshman, I'm like, okay, I'll look out there. And then she just goes, "It's still 60 feet. It is still the same game. The fences are still there. The noise might be a little louder, but the game is still the same. So if you feel overwhelmed, remember that. And whenever you first walk into the stadium, allow yourself that moment." And I never forgot that. And I always told that to the freshmen that were coming in to the World Series for the first time on Oklahoma's team. And then I would always try to have a moment for myself where I would allow myself to take it in, because that time has come and gone for me. And those are still some of my favorite memories. And sometimes whenever you're in the middle of things, you're in the middle of season, you're in the middle of games, you just don't fully comprehend how big it is until you're out of it and you're looking at it from the outside in. And I'm just so glad that I got to do that. But those were probably like the biggest memories that I have. My first World Series was not so much the first game. Like I said, I can't remember who it was, but that last practice on the main field, one of the upperclassmen just taking me underneath her wing like they did all year long, and just saying like, "Hey, like, you got this, enjoy it, but you got it. It's the same thing."
Yeah. What is that now that you've got that in your rearview mirror, maybe the appreciation of this is even a little different, but for women's sports, to find a women's sports venue event where you get that kind of energy, passion, intensity, how do you sort of put into context what that means, not only for softball, because we've seen just the ripples of softball, but what it means for women's sports to have this kind of event? How do you sort of put into context just the impact of something like that?
I think it's just visibility. You think about how the sport was 10 years ago. You think about how the sport was 20 years ago. And the only thing that's consistently grown besides the fan base is visibility. And I think that's the biggest thing. It doesn't matter if you're a softball fan or not, whether you grew up to play softball or not, you're seeing females out playing on the athletic field and having crowds, having people interested. You're seeing it on TV. You're seeing girls who look like me, who look like your teammate, who looks like somebody else. You see yourself represented, and that's the biggest thing, is the visibility. And I think that's what's leading a charge, not just in softball, but just in women's sports right now, is there's a lot more visibility. There's a lot more chatter around it. It's almost like you talk about it and everybody, kind of the underground secret, and now everybody knows secrets out, that kind of thing. But it has been on the surface bubbling for years.
You mentioned players that look like you, like your teammate, like everybody. The diversity of these teams is something that I think we maybe haven't sort of hit on as much because it's just happened organically. But I remember early in Patty Gasso's tenure, when OU wins its first national championship in 2000, Black players, Hispanic players, or players with that ancestry, we didn't see a lot of them. Nicole, now these teams are just organically filled with players of all backgrounds, all ethnicities. What is that impact to have so many different pathways that have led these players to Oklahoma City? What kind of impact are you seeing that have on this sport?
Yeah, growing up, I remember watching Lisa Fernandez, and I was like, man, like she's Hispanic, I'm Hispanic, I can do what she does. And again, that representation, and somebody that I think of that comes to mind immediately right now is Natasha Watley, what she's done for the athletes, not only in California, but around the country. She is such a great role model and somebody who wants to lead the charge. And she knows that it's not all about her, but it's, you play softball, all right, let's bring you in. You play softball, let's bring you in. And it's just letting other people know, like, this is something that you can do. It's not out of reach, it's not out of touch. This is the way to get there. This is a path. Let me share my knowledge. Let these girls who are in college share their knowledge with you as well. So again, it's all about visibility.
Yeah, it's just been fantastic to see. Hey, one last thing about, you mentioned the memories, a lot of them being off the field, but one that stands out for me is that next to last pitch of your senior year, and you went crashing into the wall trying to make the last out to win the championship. Do you still look at that part of the outfield out there in right field and sort of cringe at what happened that day?
That is so funny. I have gone back and watched that video over and over and over again. And I held up just that much. And I was so mad at myself. I was like, how cool would that have been? Like, to win a national championship on a diving play up against the wall. And I was like, whatever. But for the first time since I graduated about 3 weeks ago, I got to cover the Big 12 tournament, which is at the new stadium, and I got to walk on the field, and that was the first time I had been on the field since the national championship. So I walked out to right field and I patted the wall. I was like, you were good to me. And then I walked off. But that was such a fun moment because I haven't been on that field in a couple of years. So it was really sweet, kind of bittersweet, standing out there in right field, just looking out and going, man, what I would give to play in the World Series one more time.
I was so worried about you to go full speed over there. You say you hesitated. All I saw was your face heading right towards the wall. I thought, oh no, what's going to happen? But you popped right up. Everything seemed fine. Was it fine? Were you hurt?
I was fine. I think I was more embarrassed. I crashed into the wall and I didn't catch it. And I like laid down for a moment and I was thinking to myself, you can't get up too fast because then that's just embarrassing. So maybe just like take your time getting back up. And so I was like, 1, 2, okay, that's enough time. And I popped up. But yeah, more so my ego than actually anything physical.
Well, you didn't need to worry. You guys were fantastic. That was that 2021 team, the first of the 3 in a row for Oklahoma, obviously. And softball is still very much a part of your life. ESPN, you've got a podcast on Softball America. You're with the New York Rise. Tell me a little bit about the Rise. What's the opportunity there for you, this new pro team that has sprung up?
Man, I'm so excited to be going out to New York and joining them. They're going to be playing out of Hofstra University. They're going to have a season opener tournament in Chattanooga. We're going to be traveling back to OKC. So I guess I will get my wish. I will get to play in that stadium one more time. And then we'll be traveling down to Bradenton, Florida to be playing the Vibe. And so there's 4 teams in the league, this independent league. And I'm just really excited because the direction of the teams in this league, they are looking not just to this year of providing athletes with the ability to play beyond college, but how can we make it bigger? How can we grow into 6 teams, 8 teams, 10 teams? And it's something that they have laid out a plan and they've talked to us athletes about, saying it may be tough in the beginning, but look 4 years down the road, look 5 years down the road and know this is where we're going to be. You just have to buy into the dream. And I think that's the biggest thing, is the idea of growth and the idea of visibility. I think it goes back again to how college sports was for softball 10 years ago, not just softball, but female sports 10 years ago compared to now. They had to grind it out. They had to tough it out. And look where it is now. And I think that's the same thing that this league is providing, is the ability to have that dream seen accomplished in my lifetime, in my playing lifetime.
Yeah, it's going to be fantastic to see, obviously, the Spark here in Oklahoma City doing their part to try to bring softball to that pro level, ramp it up, do more. And then obviously lots of national team exposure there as well. So lots to like about this summer. Before we let you go, Nicole, tell people where they can find you. I mentioned the Softball America podcast, but Give us the rundown, any social handles, anything that people need to go search for you to find you out there.
Yeah, just look me up on Instagram at Nicole_Mendes _, then on Twitter at Nicole_Mendes _, and it's MENDES. Everybody always thinks it's a Z, it's an S, but you guys can find me there. You can find me on TikTok, same username. It's pretty fun being able to travel around this year and just being able to use my platform and use my socials to show what's going on in the game of softball. So you can definitely check out what I'm up to and what's going on around in the softball world on my socials.
We'll be expecting lots of pictures from the stands at Devon Park this week. So get out there and do it, Nicole.
All right.
Thanks for joining us. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me.
That's all the time we've got this time, but be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's free and easy, but it really helps me. And you can also subscribe to my Substack, jennicarlson.substack.com. A special thanks to Jacqueline Musgrove and Michael Lane for producing my show. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.